Hey, class. Okay, I turned down the music. Here's what I've got so far. If I wasn't impatient, it feels pretty dry, I would probably build this up a couple more layers, going back and forth between the lights and the darks, and just to give it a sense of volume, even better sense of volume and presence. But you can see how I modeled the forms, okay, and then played around modeling the negative spaces to emphasize the forms. So here there's a dark tone on the left side of that shape, and the negative space right next to it is a lighter tone. Same with here. So that's kind of the idea, playing around with these negative spaces to emphasize and push the primary forms forward. The next step is to work with transparencies on top of these. So just grab, I'm going to start with orange. And for the transparencies, you're not going to need much paint, okay, because they're still feels a little damp. Yeah, I'll see what happens. Because you're going to be using a lot of water. Get yourself some clean water and basically mix the paint into a little air like that. I just brought some water onto the palette, and I'm grabbing a little bit of pigment and to just get a little transparent wash. And then the idea is you want to make sure the paint is distributed into that water pretty thoroughly. You don't want like any blobs of paint like that thing on your brush, okay? You can just kind of gauge it as you build it up. Then the idea is to work these transparencies on top of well, you can see I need a lot more paint there, okay? A lot more pigment. Again, I'm not used to this paint, so I'm adding more pigment to the water there. There we go, that's better. See how that changes things? It's really kind of beautiful. So the idea is build up layers of color on top of this black and white study. Grab a little more water. Simple idea. And the idea is just observe what happens, how this process changes the surface of the painting, changes the forms, changes the space in the painting. Those are all very important concepts. And I'm just going with straight pigment that has just a little bit of water in it. See how that starts to glow right there? You can see that. Now, if it gets too brushy, you can take some water from your thing and just kind of put it in there like that. You can also take a rag. Oh, I don't have any rags around here. I need to get those. I'll get a Kleenex. And use this to kind of even out the layer a little bit. Okay? Now I'm just going to grab some blue, which is, of course, the complement of orange. But I'll put just a tiny blob of blue down on the palette. Rinse off the brush. Squeegee out the brush too. Okay, adds a little bit more water now. So I'm gonna put blue into the dark areas to just bring them up and just to make them feel richer. There's a little bit of shine there. Sorry, I gotta work on these lights. I keep forgetting that when things get wet. Ooh, I like how that looks, huh? So basically, I'm using the underpainting to create the sense of volume in the forms, right? I'm using the underpainting for that. But I'm using the layers of color transparency to enhance those relationships. This is a very important concept. It's one that if you think about the old masters, like I mentioned Rembrandt, Rembrandt used this technique extensively to create a sense of luminosity in his paintings. As you look at the transparent layers, it becomes a very physical thing. Like you see this, a very thin layer of orange on top of the white, And instead of the orange tinting or the white tinting the orange in a physical way, like you were mixing it on your palette, it's changing the color of the orange through a transparent layer. You actually see light pass through that layer, bounce off the underpainting, and come out to your eye. So there's a physical change there in the surface that creates luminosity and depth. That's a very important. It's very subtle. It's not like this is, well, it's very powerful if you do it right. And it's also a very subtle thing. Also, note the difference between this white here and the white right here. I just put the transparent blue on top of that. See how that cooled it down right here and here? That's really nice. This is a little bit warmer, okay? So do 2 of these compositions, play around with different colors, let them dry thoroughly. Don't just do 1 layer, do several layers, okay? And mix, maybe even like here, I'm throwing the blue on top. Now I'll throw some orange on top of that to see what happens, okay? I'm just gonna, play around, see what happens. Learn from this. This is how you learn. You learn by experiencing changes that occur in the paint surface. It's just very important, okay? Okay, later.